Under your life.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And after all those productive discussions of the day, this is going to be the last panel discussion. But trust me, we saved one of the best discussions for the very end. Now, we spoke about InsurTech in many different use cases, but this particular discussion is about the role of digital health and wellness in insurance. We're going to be talking especially in the context of Pakistan and South Asia. And joining me today in our esteemed panel is Ms. Saima Arshad. She's an entrepreneur, strategy and digitization leader. Mr. Wasim Irshad, who's the co-founder at Wow Health. Dr. Saira Siddiq, CEO and founder of Medic Smart Healthcare. Dr. Sara Saif Puram, the CEO of Sehat Kahani. And Mr. Umair Khalid, the COO of Hello Doctor. Welcome, panelists, and I'm going to start asking Dr. Sara Saif Puram. Dr. Sara, what do you think is the role of digital health and wellness in insurance? And where do you see the opportunities?
I think there's a huge role. First of all, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you, Anza, for introducing us. It's a pleasure to be here. I think if I can talk a little bit statistically, so health insurance is a $220 million market in Pakistan. And if you talk about life insurance, that's a $2 billion market in Pakistan. And this I'm talking about reported numbers. So I'm sure there's a dark economy that exists as well. Unfortunately, outpatient healthcare accounts for only 8% of the total health insurance market in Pakistan. And for life insurance, this number is below 2%. So you can capitalize on how big the opportunity or how big the market is. And it has been a huge problem for insurance companies to cover outpatient care, because by and large, the health insurance and the life insurance market in Pakistan depends upon hospitalization coverage. When a person is sick, go to the hospital. But what about the younger generation who needs primary care visits? Their insurance does not cover it. So I truly believe that market can be capitalized through digital healthcare initiatives, whether it's telemedicine or it's diagnostics or it's pharmacy delivery. And I think that can become a very sustainable revenue generating model and also a cost saving model for the insurance as well as corporate. Because if you cut a disease in primary healthcare, the patient will not have to go into tertiary care hospitals. You will reduce hospitalization. You will reduce premium over the years. And in Pakistan, there isn't a concept for primary care health insurance coverage through telemedicine. But other countries where there is, they believe that 30 to 40% of their health insurance is actually covered by outpatient coverage visits. So again, the market in the case study is there. It's thus the utilization and the behavior change from tertiary care hospitalization insurance coverage to a primary care coverage, where we need to convince the insurer, the corporate, as well as the person who's taking primary care insurance for themselves.
Why do you think so far Pakistan has been very reluctant upon providing OPD coverage in the first place? Because I believe there's also that element of the narrative attached to insurance. We see only the big corporate giants that are actually providing OPD, and that too is a very minimal number when you talk about the conventional insurance providers. Why do you think this is the case, and what can be done to deconstruct and reconstruct the narrative?
So Sehat Kahani works with around 520 corporates today, and we cover 90% of them through 3 insurance groups in Pakistan, 3 of the leading insurance groups. And one thing that we realized early on is people are hesitant, insurance companies and corporates both are very hesitant to create primary care pools. There are 2 reasons for it. A, it's a very expensive pool to be created for all employees, so you can't create it for all. You have to select a small minor group, which is the managerial group or the high managerial group. That causes exclusivity, and that's why a lot of companies avoid it. So you would want the same service for a janitor as well as for the CEO. You wouldn't want something exclusive to be given to your managerial staff. And wherever this has worked, it has not created a very inclusive approach for the management. The second thing is there is a leakage issue. So big companies who have OPD reimbursements. So the only method to do it, if you're not including digital care, is to reimburse an employee when they come for their primary care visits. Now, there is a massive issue of leakage in that because when people come to reimburse their visits, and for example, if they come to reimburse their pharmacy and there's a big electric company in Pakistan that has a whole case report on this, they sometimes put in Pampers and Nido and all the house items into it. And they think that that would be reimbursed, and that has been reimbursed because when you have thousand claims coming in a month, it's very difficult to detect this. So transparency is a challenge for the organization, for the insurance company. Creating pools and they get burst really soon, so cost is a challenge. So they find it easier either not to give it or give it to a very small chunk of their high managerial staff. You have to create a cost-effective, transparent, for all digital solution for primary care coverage. And I truly believe that digital health is the only answer to this for a country like Pakistan, and that has worked in America. If you see US-based insurance companies, almost where telemedicine is available in states and is regularized, 90% of the insurance companies have moved towards telemedicine visits because it's cheaper, cost-effective, long-lasting, and transparent.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing those insights with us. Dr. Saira Siddique, do you perhaps have a different perspective?
I think I don't have a different perspective. First of all, thank you for having me here today. I have personally worked in insurance sector in Pakistan and in Germany as well, working with different big names in the world which work in the insurance sector. Particularly, I would further add to what Dr. Sara said. Yes, digital health as a way to provide curative healthcare is very important because it not only causes inclusivity, but also reduces the cost of the healthcare services to be provided. I would focus on one more thing. That is, it's not only the curative care, but if you work on preventive care through digital health, you can reduce the premium itself. Premium for life care, for life insurance, for example, if you have a healthy lifestyle, you are currently what is happening in Pakistan that everyone, irrespective of whether they are having a healthy lifestyle, whether they are having, they're choosing healthy food over junk food, whether they walk or they don't walk, whether they have a risky behavior or not, they are charged same premium. But same goes for the healthcare industry. Irrespective whether you go for a healthy lifestyle, you take, for example, in case of kidney diseases, if you get it diagnosed at the time of hypertension, then the treatment at the premium later on becomes lower. But in case of Pakistan, the premium rates are flat. They're same irrespective of the behavior of the customer. So digital health can literally help if we adopt it in reduction of the premium for those who have a better lifestyle, who understand the importance of preventive health care. And in this way, we will be able to provide health insurance to more people and to reduce the premium cost itself and make insurance more, the insurance penetration more in general public as well, in addition to the larger corporates.
Absolutely agree 100%. Mr. Umair Khalid, now some of our earlier discussions today as well revolved around the fact that building up upon what Dr. Saira said, we can't have the same flat rate for everybody. Now, we're talking about a lot of advancements in technology. We're talking about Apple Watches and, IoT-enabled devices within the home. So now you can literally track how many steps someone is taking, what they're eating, patterns are like, etc. Do you think that therein lies a unique opportunity for digital health and wellness in the context of insurance in Pakistan?
First of all, thank you for having me on this particular panel. And what Dr. Sara has said and Dr. Saira has said. Obviously, in Pakistan, insurance companies are also reluctant to rely on the customer information. With all of us doing digital health related work in Pakistan, it is now creating awareness and also customer data points. And what you are talking about, having customer data points, and what Dr. Saira was mentioning, that there's one flat insurance premium rate for everyone. I think it's too early for Pakistan to adapt to this approach where we are customizing based on the customer profile, the health profile, the age profile, and the wellness profile to drive an insurance premium. I think what everyone is doing in terms of creating an awareness, in terms of reaching out to different corporates, different segments, all of us are now going to have enough customer data in 2 to 3 years' time, which we can take to the insurance sectors. And what I think insurance industry is now more open towards the digital health companies as well. They are now seeking to partner up with them so that the customer data is coming to them, and the employees' data in group health policies is championed towards their side, which is eventually going to help them in reducing the risk premium or the losses. And I think these devices, the customer engagement, the touch points, and the data is going to help everyone. So yeah, absolutely, it is going to be very beneficial in future.
Right. Ms. Saima, now the same question to you. Advancements in technology, what does it mean? Better data analytics, what does it mean for digital health and well-being in the context of insurance in Pakistan?
Thanks, Ansa. Hello, everybody. This is Saima. Thanks, CxO Global, to have me on this panel. I think a very important topic, which is well-being, close to my heart. The introduction you have put in for me, yes, this is what I do currently, but my major chunk of the corporate life has been spent in human resource management. And back in the days, early 2000s, when we were discussing about, so let me discuss about from the macro level perspective. I think from a macro level perspective, as my colleagues, the doctors and I can't agree more, how they have derived the scenario in terms of the numbers and everything. I think the structured and unstructured sector, there is a huge potential that through digital health and InsurTech, you can reach out to in the unstructured sector. The sector which is very structured, and especially if I talk about corporate, back in the days, almost a decade and a half ago, the discussions were started by then. So at that time, as Umair has talked about the touch points, the data points, and Dr. Sara also discussed the challenge in managing the OPT part at the corporates. This challenge is now somehow administered through third parties. However, there is a lot of operational challenge, and I agree to Dr. Sara about what we used to feel in corporates when we have to reimburse things. And it was really, really difficult, especially in large scale organizations where I have worked. It was really difficult to manage all those things from an administration perspective. So coming to your question, Anza, I think with the inclusion of technology and digital healthcare solutions and the space where InsurTech is operating, I think now it's becoming easier. I know a few organizations who are already working not on the pre-employment tests digitally being done before the employee joins, but also a lot of well-being stuff for employee engagement. It's very important that employee well-being remains within the organization for a good, productive employee, and also from an employee engagement perspective, and perhaps having a positioning in the employment market as a good employer who looks after the well-being of an employee. So a lot of potential, and I think going forward, the way we are operating and all these good organizations, the way they are working, I see a lot of good things coming up.
Right, very valid point made, Saima. Now, moving on, Mr. Wasim Irshad, there were some administrative and HR-related challenges that were brought up back the topic at hand. We know that MNCs and global companies have been providing a lot of digital health insurance benefits, well-being benefits as well. So it's not just IPD and OPD. I know I've been receiving them for a while now. How long before we can leverage technology and penetrate really into the masses? And I don't just mean like the big companies, but also the SMEs. Where does the opportunity lie there?
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk today. And thank you, Saima, for highlighting this point of well-being and the problems that corporates face, because everything revolves around the well-being and the organizations and retention and the workforce management. Because at the end of the day, we all know that the organizations provide health insurance and everything so that their people can work better and retention rates increases. Now, Wow Health, brings experience from US. We have been doing this thing from 2017 in US market. We work with the few largest groups over there, and with few largest insurance companies over there, and we cover the OPD part over there, right? And we have seen that this thing has really increased retention rate up to 2 to 3% in the larger organizations. Now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to complement the efforts of Dr. Sara and Dr. Saira, and partnering with Umair and all of these fellow beings, and trying to do that. This OPD part is covered in a way that the organizations feel the real value in this thing. If you talk about me myself, for my team, I pay a lot of insurance during all my year, right? But these all people are young. They don't use, most of them, they never go to hospital even once, right? This all money is just, sunk cost for myself. Now, when I talk about OPD expenses, and when you offered them, the OPD packages of my organization, or even if I offer them from Sayed Khani or MedIQ, this will actually complement their daily routine coverages. These are things they suffer through. And one more thing I would, really tell that we are really dealing with the Gen Z organization, Gen Z, these days. These people really know how to use IT. They really want experience, and this digital experience can complement insurance companies from the prevention perspective. You see, Omer, he understands this insurance market, very well. And one thing which we can do as a digital health partners with them is that we can reduce, this their IPD expenses by just, focusing on prevention factor more. I think that's one very important thing: prevention and
Right.
well-being. They both go hands in hand, and they reduce cost of insurance market as well. So I think insurance industry should lead in bringing in digital companies on board. Number one, and number two, to increase the user interaction. It's not just onboarding the digital partner. It's about making people use this benefit, this feature. People should utilize it. This will generate data. This will increase prevention. This will increase, savings for insurance companies, and this will increase retention for the corporates, I think.
Right, absolutely. Now, I know Dr. Sara has to leave soon, so I'm going to revert back to her. Now, Dr. Sara, we did speak about Gen Z, and we also know that a large chunk of the entry level positions are now filled by Gen Z, and then managerial levels and so on by millennials. I know we are tailor making solutions to them. There's a lot of talk about bespoke solutions, but two issues still are faced. Number one, obviously, when you talk about the masses, we can't deny the fact that there is still that narrative about insurance in general being un-Islamic, or perhaps, and it's a stigma that's attached to it, and it can't be denied in the context of Pakistan. What can be done to prevent that? And number two, what are some of your policy recommendations, especially post the latest SRO that SECP issued with regards to new entrants and licensing practices for digital health and digital insurance providers?
So I think answering your first question, I think your own country has a very, and this was launched a couple of years ago, but I think it has benefited so many patients, which is the Sehat card. It's in both provinces. It's covering one of your major provinces today, and it allows anyone having an NIC to cover hospitalization. Obviously, there are limits, there are conditions, but it has benefited masses in the last 2 years who have used this card to have bigger surgeries such as heart, cardiac bypass, etc. To some extent, liver transplant, kidney transplant as well. I think we need to realize the fact that Pakistan is a country where a lot of people live below the poverty line. And data says that one health catastrophe pushes a family from above the poverty line to below the poverty line. If you talk about micro health insurance organizations or micro insurance organization, if you take their data and see, they will tell you that majority of the times people take loans not to build a house or to earn a livelihood or to marry their girls. They take a loan when they're hit by a health catastrophe. So health coverage is extremely important. As Islamic banking has kicked in, I'm sure Islamic health insurance will also kick in soon as the product develops and increases. But there is mass conversion to it when it was given free to people under the Sehat card. So I think there's a huge opportunity to add this to everyone's life. And this is something that a lot of all the provinces are considering. Some are calling it the Sehat card, some are calling it the universal healthcare model. But this has to kick in Pakistan because we have a massive gap when it comes to doctors and patients. And we have a massive gap in terms of the population that we have, that is 220 million. And the total corporate employees in the country are 20 million. So you need to, or 2 million, sorry. So you really need to fill that gap with mass insurance initiatives. I think with respect to policies, as a person who's worked in corporate health insurance through telemedicine and digital medicine, I think one thing that I fear is the lack of standardization for all the companies who are working in this space. We are providing health consultations to patients online. We are providing diagnostics. We are providing pharmacies. So I think onus is on companies like us to have a check on us to have high standards of care. Because if there's some malnegligence or malpractice or any adverse event for the employees or people in general using our products, it will reflect badly on the entire sector. And that would reduce conversion to digital health or digital health initiatives altogether. So I think if standardizations are placed on the quality of doctors, on creating a barrier on which services can be provided through digital healthcare initiatives, on which diagnostics should be provided, I think it would serve the best purpose. But I truly believe that primary care options should be added in public and private insurance programs.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah. And thank you for joining us today. All right, Dr. Saira, I'm moving on. Same question to you. What are some of your policy recommendations? What are some of the creative outlets where we can explore out-of-the-box ideas?
Thank you so much. Again, I think somehow Sarah and Saira, we somehow have similar opinions about a lot of stuff. But यहाँ पे एक चीज मैं ऐड करूँ शायद जो बहुत सारे लोगों को नहीं पता that I was the founding CEO of CxO program. You know, when it was launched, so the first PC1, and the initial 3 years, I looked after the program. And you know, and being a health economist, I've always looked at the numbers. And what we found out through an analysis of the data which we got from State Life at that time, that 97% of the people were disgruntled with the services. Reason being that they actually needed OPD services instead of IPD services. While the Sehat card is for IPD, and what was happening, what was happening was like people were below the poverty line at that time, 32 PMD scoring. So what they were doing, they were walking into the hospitals considering that they will be treated, and they were then going out without having any treatment or being charged for the treatment. So this means that they were unnecessarily visiting the hospitals, they were spending money out of pocket, and they were not getting any services despite the government spending billions of rupees on the premium which is being paid to an insurance company from the state side, one of the state-owned insurance companies. So this means if we can do something that we keep those people who are not meant to be in the hospital away from hospital and siphon them, or we do a triage in a way that they don't end up in the hospital and get treated before entering into the hospital. Now, you not only reduce the premium, but you also increase the satisfaction by multiple folds. And this is only possible right now because of digital health. So my policy recommendation would be that either, because in case of BHUs, basic health units, in case of the other primary care units, that many of them are not staffed by trained doctors. But if we train multi-purpose providers like nurses or midwives, how to use a gadget to connect to a doctor, we can keep a lot of population away from the hospital and keep them satisfied. So my recommendation, one policy recommendation, which I have seen from the data, it's very strongly backed by the data, is please provide primary care and have a filtration mechanism before people go out to hospitals and try to utilize Senate card because it's only causing dissatisfaction. So it can only be done through digital health because we can't have so many doctors
and we can't have as many hospitals, and then there's obviously the challenge of the infrastructure, and we've seen that post the floods that just came.
Even now, even when there was no flood, when it became a universal health coverage program, rather than a pro-pure medical insurance program, we saw that people flooded the hospitals. And then there was a screen skimming process in which the people who were rich and who could do the co-payment were only entertained. And the people who really needed it badly were actually being thrown out because they couldn't do the co-payment. So there are a lot of things which need to be done, but at least the first step which needs to be done is to filter out those who do not need to end up in hospital. And it is only possible digitally because sustainable and scalable technology can support us in this way.
Right. Very pertinent points raised indeed. Now let's move on to Saima. Saima, again, the question that I'm going to address here is, Dr. Saira mentioned some of the challenges that we have with regards to infrastructure, and then obviously digital inequality, the digital divide. We keep talking about digital health solutions, and no offense to any of you, but the fact still remains that I'm sitting here in the capital in the red zone, and I have major connectivity issues. A lot of times when I'm using one of the apps with, where we file our OPD claims, the app keeps crashing. So, how do we address these challenges? Let's address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I mean, of course. So we have to understand that we are a progressing country, and the good news is that at least now we know what the enemies are. And we are not neglecting or denying the fact that these are not enemies. So yes, infrastructure remains one of the problems. As you just mentioned, physical infrastructure, then you mentioned technology infrastructure. But then again, these small little steps which we are taking towards the progressive objective is what is required. See, digital and tech healthcare ecosystem has to be very important for the scalable solutions. You're talking about this and you're talking about the discrimination from the technology standpoint. I would like to address another discrimination from a gender standpoint, whereby in the unstructured scenario, we think that perhaps men should be addressed. Men's problems, health challenges are better to be addressed than women. So I would like to...
most life insurance claims, sorry to cut you off, are mostly for men.
I run my own CSR platform, which is called She Matters, and I work a lot with the unstructured sector, and I find out that over there, education of the parents and the society for the wellness of women and females is very important because I'm sorry, I am digressing a little bit, but we are a very important institute in the formation of the society, women. So I think that this is very important that with the digital scalable solutions, there has to be a noise education which needs to go down the at the bottom of the pyramid from the state perspective, from these companies perspective, from the ministry's perspective. I think there is a lot of noise which needs to be addressed. The telcos and the tech companies of the world need to address these infrastructure challenges. But I think that small little steps today are going to make us to go to the bigger objective, which in my opinion is the wellness of a society as a whole. Mental wellness and physical wellness. That's very important.
Absolutely. And, you did raise some very valid points with regards to, women requiring different premiums when it comes to digital health as well as conventional insurance.
My apologies to cut you, Anza. There was a time back in the days when I was in the HR department of different organizations. I saw, maternity sort of benefits for a hierarchy, a difference in a hierarchical way. And I was so confused that why a woman at that hierarchy has to be treated differently, So this remains one of the challenge that within, even from the gender perspective, women are treated differently. So yeah.
Right. Definitely, very relevant concern. Mr. Umair Khalid, now, I know you're probably as overwhelmed by some of these comments as I am. However, coming back to the topic at hand, we are, a developing nation, agreed, but we cannot also neglect the fact that technology is the only way that we can penetrate the masses and provide digital health coverage. What are some of your policy recommendations? Perhaps, the telcos are doing some great work. Are some of these newer entrants in the market like looking to collaborate or perhaps partner up with the telcos?
So I think, we are a country of 220 million, and majority of the country is covered by all the telcos. There are 3G services, there are 4G services, and everyone is actually, improving their services day by day. So if you look back, like, in 2004 and 5, when Vare, then, Telenor joins the entire, race, and then Zong comes up. So it actually, improves the infrastructure over the last 15 to 17 years. And we are continuously seeing an improvement in those areas and sectors. There are about 17 to 21 different health tech related companies in Pakistan. Even these are not enough to cater the entire population. So the collaborations between the organizations, same structure, same level of services, along with partnering up with the telcos and any customer base, having any customer touch point is very vital. Having a tap or a digital health kiosk in remote locations where doctors do not prefer to go and work, even the nurses are not there. Those areas are, the telco companies, their services are there. So with just a tap or a digital health kiosk is very useful. And you're absolutely right. The policies obviously are, driven by the government and the regulator, but, they need to ask us to join that particular table, have the industry experts, Wow Health, bringing their experience from America. We are bringing our experience from the UK. Dr. Saira is bringing her experience from Germany, and Saima working with different telcos and, with different corporate organizations. So there's a huge, significant pool of experts, and the first thing the regulator should do is to invite everyone. There has to be a starting point. Rather than we, build up strict policies, we should be open to the ideas and suggestions. And I think, the entire group is mature and good enough to work together.
Right, absolutely. And, hats off to CxO Global for bringing all of us together on this platform. We had quite a few representatives from the regulator as well, from SCCP, speaking about some of the new advancements. And I think this is great. Just, putting our minds together, a lot of partnerships, potential partnerships, and policy advocacy is needed. Moving on, Mr. Wasim Irshad. So, with the new SRO that I mentioned earlier, SCCP, they're now encouraging more entrants into the field of InsurTech in Pakistan in particular. There are also some relaxations. There's a talk of a centralized database as well. What are your takes?
Yeah, so I have quite a lot of points written with me, so I'll try to sort very fast. But I totally agree with Umair that the ground, the field is so wide. We all are covering less than 5% people across the board. So we have to collaborate. We have to leverage services of each other. We have to somehow collaborate to serve everyone on the ground. Second important thing is that I personally feel that it's actually the people who bring the foundation for any policy. If there's a need, there's a demand, policies are then made. You think about the IT. IT has evolved in past 20 years in quite a good way. And the policy making have also strengthened it. Just because a lot of business is coming. A lot of people are using it now. there's a need. When there's a need, policymakers do think, of course, what they have to do to improve that, from their perspective as well as from the people's perspective. Another important thing, I would really want to add over here is that what we are doing as a little contribution to this thing. We feel that everybody in the country should at least use once telemedicine, at least in their life. If they use it once, they get the confidence. They will next time, in a better position to choose a service provider. They may prefer MedIQ, they can go to Sehat Khani, they can go to anyone, but they will be in this whole paradigm, right? They will have a faith that this thing works. For that reason, what we are trying to do is we are bringing up, this telemedicine over the counter, where people, people have this habit of buying things, tangible things. They pay and they buy. So what we are trying to tell them is, okay, you pay, you buy telemedicine sessions, right? And then you can use them anytime you want, right? And that's the simplest proposition. And the results are really good. People are using it. Anybody who uses it for once, they then come back, of course. But first time to, bring them to use it, that's one important thing. Second thing is, as we are working with one of the largest telemedicine provider in US, for all our customers, and we are partner with them. We are serving lots of corporates. But we have learned from there that connectivity is still a problem in US as well. So wherever you go, in remote areas, even within, as we just discussed, within Islamabad, there is a problem of connectivity. So there must be alternative means to talk to doctor. We use phone, and video both. If there is no internet, no problem. You just call our helpline and talk to doctor, because the purpose is that patient should be served. That's what we need to do. Another important thing which I really want to bring attention is that the second opinion service which we are bringing. We have got 350,000 doctors in US, and we are bringing that service to Pakistani market to manage the chronic diseases, because as we have discussed that the chronic diseases are killing people, financially, specifically I say. And for that, if you just take a second opinion and reach to a proper diagnosis, you can save a lot of money, right? So this is another important thing, where we should think that how, we can reach to a better diagnosis of diseases. And one last point, I'm sorry, I'm taking more time, but as we, mentioned that telemedicine, how it can help to insurance companies. So even in USA, all telemedicine companies, they serve as a gatekeeper to the patients, to the insurance companies, to the corporates, to everyone. Every patient directly comes to the your telemedicine doctor, GP, and that GP actually solves 70% of the problems. Your 70% of the load is, it gets shed from that one point. If you go to PIMS and you will see people, lines of people, they're waiting for the doctor. Half of them are there, even they don't need to be there. And that was Dr. Sara, that we have to serve the insurance companies, the hospitals, and the corporates as a gatekeeper to, save their finances, to reduce the load on them, so that we can focus on the patients who really need the help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those very valid points. Ms. Saima, we just have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to ask you to share your closing remarks on the topic.
Thanks, Anza. My closing remarks would be that I'm very glad that at least these roundtables, these discussions, thanks to CxO Global, at least now we are talking about it. And I would say that there has to be dialogues around these topics, and not only health, but also wellness. And when I say wellness, it's about emotional and mental wellness too. I mean, if I speak to my O-level kid, she tells me that a lot of students around her are so stressed. So I wonder that why schools cannot take the responsibility of providing a lot of digital solutions and coping mechanism with the stress. So coming back to my closing note, I think there has to be, and these organizations, the dear esteemed panelists who are with me, they have to play an important role in reaching out to that part as well, to the unstructured part as well, for the 360 wellness, in addition to the physical health part, through digital solutions. so that we as a nation can nurture our kids, our women, and our elderly people in a more better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Umair Khalid, your final thoughts.
I think these sessions and these conferences by CxO Global Forum, bringing in all the experts from different industries and along with the regulator is going to play a very vital role. If I remember that last time, when we had this digital health summit and InsurTech conferences, a lot of positives comes out of it. A lot of organizations, they collaborated and, started doing things. And I think, it is very, very important that even the other industry experts like, Saima, they are, speaking about the well-being of not only the women, but also the kids as well, because they are facing challenges. And I think we all need to come together. No one can do everything. It's just, I think, within these 17 to 21 organizations, there are some priorities and, some expertise, which we all can, collaborate and, share with each other. And, I think, this is going to be a long journey, but we really need to stick together and work together in order to achieve at least covering the 50% population of Pakistan.
Right. Dr. Saira.
Well, I think my closing message would be that we all sitting here is proves the fact that the solution for our future healthcare is scalable and sustainable technology. And health and insurance, they go very well hand in hand together. So let's all do our part. I think all of us who are sitting here, we do our bit, do our bit, and let's work together, because I do see that there is a small industry and there's a lot of competition. While I think we all can work together to make and transform this whole system, and let's go do it together, because time is right and people need us.
On that end note, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you to our esteemed panelists, and it has been very, very knowledgeable. Please keep contributing to the knowledge economy. Please keep collaborating. And I believe CxO Global Forum will keep organizing such brilliant initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.